Vine sat on the couch, her fingers fidgeting continuously as she was waiting for Jungkook. Jungkook, I told you to stay out of this, Vine. You don't need to know where I am or what I'm doing. He growled, his voice edged with irritation. His dark eyes, usually cool and unreadable, now burned with annoyance. Vine's chest tightened. Anger bubbled within her, but it was laced with something deeper fear. Every time he's late at night, every time he goes on an unexplained mission, it fills her with anxiety, leaving cracks in the carefully built wall she had put up when they were first forced together in the marriage. She never signed up for love, but somewhere along the way, the idea of losing him had grown unbearable. Her fists clenched. Fine. I'm your wife, Jungkook. Do you even care what that means? How am I supposed to sleep when you could be dead in a ditch somewhere? The words slipped from her lips, trembling with frustration and worry. Jungkook ran a hand through his hair. His jaw clenched so tightly she could hear his teeth grin. Jungkook, it's not your job to care about me. Do your job and let me do mine. He said and turned around to leave. She shouldn't care anymore if he doesn't. But it's not the first time they were having this conversation, and in anger she does let him go his own way every time. She thought that she wouldn't worry about him, but she ends up doing the same every time. Fine. I know. I know you don't care about me or my feelings at all. I don't do it too. But I don't know why my heart thirds with fear whenever you're late, whenever you're on a dangerous mission. She shouted, making him stop and listen without turning back. Wine. It's okay. You don't need to tell me about your dangerous life, nor do you have to get me involved. I know it's for my safety, but knowing about where you are going and what you are doing is a right of a wife, and I can't. Jungkook, are you talking about rights at this moment? He said, and was about to turn around to face her, but before he could do so, she pulled him from his wrist and grabbed his collar. She yanked him down to her height and crashed her lips against his in a fierce, desperate kiss, which was full of anger, fear, and longing. Jungkook froze, stunned by the sudden gesture. The kiss was harsh, almost punishing, as if she was trying to convey every emotion that she couldn't speak at once. Her fingers gripped his collar tightly, refusing to let him retreat into the cold walls he had built around himself. For a moment he didn't move. Then, almost reluctantly, his hand slid to the small of her back. The anger that crackled between them slowly melted into something more fragile. But Vine didn't soften. She kissed him harder, as if daring him to understand she cares, even if he won't let her. When she finally pulled away, her breathing was heavy. For once, Jungkook was at a loss of words. Fine. Don't you dare tell me to stop caring, she whispered, her voice breaking. Because I won't. Jungkook's jaw clenched again, but this time it wasn't from anger. His dark eyes softened just enough for her to see the weight he carried, silent fears, unspoken burdens, and the walls he thought he had to keep between them. But Vine wasn't going anywhere, and she made sure he knew it. As she came to realize what she did, she blinked, lips still tingling, and released her grip on Jungkook's collar, as if it had burned her. Her eyes darted away. She took a step back, her arms wrapping around herself, suddenly feeling exposed. Wine. I didn't mean, she started, her voice faltering. But Jungkook didn't let her finish. He grabbed her wrist and tugged her towards him. His grip was firm, but there was a gentleness in the way he pulled her close, as if afraid she might not like it if he wasn't careful. Jungkook, you're not getting away that easily, he muttered, his deep voice low, almost a growl. But she could protest, or even think. Jungkook cupped her face in his hands and crashed his lips against hers. This kiss wasn't like the first, born from her frustration and fear. No, this kiss was desperate, deliberate, slow, as if he had been waiting for this moment longer than he cared to admit. Wine's breath hitched, her heart pounding so hard she thought he might feel it too. Her hands instinctively pressed against his chest, but she didn't push him away. She couldn't. The way his lips moved against hers, confident yet savoring every second, made her knees weak. Jungkook's thumb gently brushed her cheek, coaxing her deeper into the kiss. Jungkook, you worried about me to the point that you had to push me like that? He whispered, his lips coasting over hers, making it impossible to think straight. Vine's cheeks burned. She tried to look anywhere but at him, but Jungkook's thumb lifted her chin back, forcing her gaze to meet his. His lips curled into a slow, teasing smirk, just enough to make her squirm. Jungkook, you shouldn't start things you can't finish, sweetheart, he murmured, brushing against the corner of her lips. Fine. I was just worried. Not about you, but Jungkook. But he chuckled under his breath, the sound low and amused. Liar. Then, without giving her time to recover, he kissed her again, and this time she let herself melt into him. Shy, but she couldn't ignore the magnetic pull between them. He might have not admitted it out loud yet, but the way his hands lingered at her waist, holding her as if she belonged there, spoke volumes. Jungkook, you're trouble, you know that? Fine. You're the one who kissed me back. Jungkook, you think I haven't wanted to? I've been holding back for too long. Wine. Then why didn't you? Jungkook, because getting close to you wasn't part of the plan, and you make it too damn hard to keep my guard up. Wine scoffed, shocked at the sudden confession. I just didn't think you would kiss me back. Jungkook, if you kiss me like that again, I won't be able to stop. Wine blushed as she said, let's talk about ignoring me later on. She sat smiling, and he scoffed after hearing her. He knew his assignment and kissed her again.